Hey guys, another no damage build. Thank you for watching and see you soon. What? You mean you are interested in what else I have to say? Okay then, well, this build was not meant to be for the damage. I was testing something else. You know Elementalist node Beacon of Ruin and how you can always apply 10% slow from your chills. Well, I wanted to scale it up to the maximum, and the maximum is 30%, and you do increase it by stacking increased effect of chill. Now I'm doing this because if you compare it to Temporal Chain course, Temporal Chain with level 20 quality 20 has up to 39% slow on enemies. However, standard bosses has 60% less course effect, and biggest bosses like Shaper and Guardians have 80% less course effect on them. So that 39% slow becomes less than 8% slow. That is of course without investing into course effectiveness. So even without any investment, Elementalist node and 10% slow from chill is already better than maxed out Temporal Chains. So I wanted to stack it up and see how it would feel against well, bigger bosses and just in general mapping with a very strong chill effect. The problem is that you need 200% increased effect of chill, and I currently have 147% increased effect of chill, which puts me at about 25% slow from my chills. You can also combine this with Temporal Chains and slow enemies even more. I haven't actually tried it because, well, my build doesn't have any damage and I kind of need to use elemental weakness or else I simply don't have any damage. But I came to conclusion that stacking chill effect is not actually very efficient. If you can get it without sacrificing anything, then it's decent. But specifically stacking chill effect from let's say abyssal jewels and everywhere on the passive skill tree is really not effective. I think there is a balance with some chill effect and also getting Temporal Chain on top of that. Maybe getting a couple of course effectiveness nodes. It should be pretty easy to get over 30% slow on enemies, or maybe even 40%. The thing about this build is that I'm not actually pure cold build, so I was trying to avoid taking cold damage nodes. Well, the one that also gives chill effect. And instead I was trying to get a lot of abyssal jewels. The problem is abyssal jewels with chill effect and other good mods are very rare and expensive. But on a cold build, getting a bit of chill effect and mixing it with Temporal Chain and course effectiveness, and on the jewels just getting damage or whatever else you need, could be the way to go. I'll get to the build in a moment, but first I wanted to talk about, well, about ball lighting and possibly maybe shotgunning. Newer players may not know what shotgunning is, but basically, currently, with one cast, you cannot hit one enemy with more than one projectile. So that means without the shotgunning. Shotgunning would mean that you could hit one enemy with multiple projectiles from one cast. And it shouldn't be that way. But for some reason it seems strange with ball lighting. I played this build without LMP, GMP or volley until like level 82 or something, and then for the heck of it I thought I'm just gonna swap LMP or volley or GMP and see how it looks. And for some reason it seems like I even gained damage in some cases. Not for the clear speed but against single target. For clear speed it is obviously good to use LMP, GMP or volley. Well, maybe not volley. So I was running a couple maps and trying to figure out if there is something strange, and I still can't figure out. It feels like if projectiles can freely pass through enemy without pushing it or ramming into the wall, it does seem like LMP and GMP somehow increases the DPS. But then again, in other cases it did noticeably lower my damage. Also, another strange thing about ball lighting. Ball lighting itself, while it is a projectile and can be linked with chain, the ball lighting itself does not deal damage. However, it does shoot small projectile-like arcs that do deal damage. And on the wiki it was said that chain actually can affect those lighting bolts that shoot from ball lighting. But we did run a couple tests and it's really not noticeable. Either it is really hard to notice or it just really doesn't work with chain. And again, I'm not talking about the ball lighting itself, but the lighting bolts that are shot from ball lighting. You know, those little arcs. Some people even suggested to use Deadeye. You know, Deadeye gains 10% more damage per remaining chain. And I think that thing still affects the ball lighting damage, because it always pierces and it always has one remaining chain. So I'm actually really interested in doing another ball lighting build with a Deadeye. Maybe even for the flashback, but this time with damage. Well, to be fair, I did manage to do pretty dangerous Phoenix plus 2 extra projectile and a lot of crit. But of course it did take me a lot of time and couple deaths. Also notice that I do have a knockback. I'll talk about that later. So let's talk about my items I guess. And I'll start with Fenumus Weave gloves. My favorite new unique item. Gives aspect of the spider which is insanely good on almost any build. And this time I'm combining almost full Fenumus set. Fenumus boots gives me energy shield on hit, body armor regenerates ES and gives me, well, basically more damage, and I take less damage from enemies, and expands the aspect of the spider AoE. I'll quickly mention that aspect of the spider also applies hinder to enemies. And notice my weapon, Singularity. It synergizes very well with hinder. Since only one hinder can be applied, the strongest one is applied always. And the strongest one is from the aspect of the spider. So this weapon is really good for this. Not only that it gives me a lot of cast speed which I need, reduces mana cost which I also need because my ball lightning costs a lot of mana. It also gives me 79% increased damage, well 109% increased damage because implicit also has 30% elemental damage, and it also gives me flat a lot of lightning damage to spells. Yes, flat a lot, which is more than more. So it's always better than good. And your aspect of the spider basically reaches enemy right on the edge of your screen. So, and ball lightning will travel a bit further away from the screen. So almost all the time you have full damage from the Singularity. Next I do have Call of the Brotherhood because I convert 40% of my lightning damage into cold, and that allows me to freeze enemies more reliably. And when I freeze and shatter them, Herald of Ice triggers and explodes everything. So the clear speed is actually pretty decent, like very decent. Well, as long as I can move fast. The second ring is Berek's Grip, simply because I get basically free life leech, and I do get mana leech against frozen enemies, which doesn't really work against bosses. That's why I needed to lower my mana cost. Now for the helmet, like I said, I am stacking increased effect of chill, and for that I need a helmet, well, Elder helmet with hypothermia, which comes with a hybrid increased effect of chill. For the shield I just tried to get, well, some damage and resistances that I needed and life. And on the amulet, which I had from the previous build, spell damage, life and good resistances. Oh, and also the belt, the darkness and prone, and I do have 2 jewels with effect of chill. So basically I put my best jewels inside the belt, which actually aren't that great but still. And from the belt alone I get 27% effect of chill. Now let's talk about skills. The main setup inside my armor on a 5 link, I have ball lighting linked with spell echo, control destruction, added cold damage and hypothermia. Hypothermia also gives another 20% effect of chill. Obviously for most damage you would want to use slower projectiles, but slower projectiles are terrible for clear speed. I would even want faster projectiles for clear speed, but since I don't really want to swap any gems, I just use, well, this setup without slower proj or anything else. If I didn't have such mana issues on a 6 link, I would suggest to use either faster proj and swap slower proj for single target, or maybe use LMP GMP and swap it for slower proj. But since I have mana issues, and if I had a 6 link, I would use Iron Will, because it simply gives some damage and does not increase your mana cost. Also, while leveling I was using Tabula, and I was actually using knockback support gem, and it was actually pretty decent. It doesn't directly give you damage, however, since it pushes enemies backwards, it allows for one ball to continuously keep hitting an enemy until the enemy hits the wall, and basically then you start losing the damage. But with a quality knockback support gem I was actually having even too much knockback, and I would just push enemies to the wall way too fast. But knockback is a really good defense mechanic for ball lighting. Basically you do not allow melee enemies to reach you and hit you. Next, inside my gloves I do have Herald of Thunder with quality, Clarity and Lighten level 3, and Herald of Ice with quality. And I only started using Herald of Ice after the Overlap, which was actually a mistake. I should have used Herald of Ice instead of Herald of Thunder, and only from Overlap, when I got mana reservation reduction for Heralds, I could use both of my Heralds. So until then I would actually suggest you to use Herald of Ice and then wait for Overlap to start using Herald of Thunder. Then in my boots I have Orb of Storms with Curse on Hit, Elemental Weakness and Culling Strike. And on this build, this kind of Curse on Hit is really not the best because you push enemies away from it. However, I still use it just for easier triggering Elemental Overload. In my helmet I have Cast when Damage Taken setup with another ball lighting linked with increased AoE and blind. If you get frozen or stunned or just can't actually attack in time but still take damage, this will trigger ball lighting, which will also blind enemies, and when ball lighting hits, well, because of the boots, I do get ES on hit. So this actually basically heals me. And in my weapon I do have Lighting Warp with quality would be nice, linked with less duration and Swift Affliction for faster traveling. And lastly, Portal. Cannot live without Portal. Now the passive skill tree. As I said, Elementalist first I took Shaper of Desolation, then Beacon of Ruin, then Pendulum of Destruction, and lastly Mastermind of Discord. But you don't have to follow this order, you may want to take Mastermind of Discord first, since you don't really start stacking chills until, well, you are in the maps, but Mastermind of Discord can help you, well, stack 2 heralds and help with clear speed. And that is the rest of my passive skill tree. As you can see, I travel all the way down to the special nodes which give knockback, so I can drop the knockback support gem. And also, as you can see, I grabbed a lot of jewel sockets. And that's all about passive skill tree. I will include path of building import code and all that stuff in video description. Did anyone count how many times I said well? Can we have a counter in the comments? As for the next build, it's probably gonna be Cyclone Caster Melee Kill Magma Orbs. Yes, I'm gonna be playing with balls again. As for the flashback, I still have not decided what I will be playing, but I will be playing and streaming most likely solo self-found hardcore. But I will not be racing, I will not be competing, I will just be trying to survive as long as possible. Well, that's all. Thank you for watching and see you soon.